before we go to comparing, because I made a little graphic comparing the parties from Smart Vote. But before I go there, I just
You need to explain.
a couple, what was it, 3 episodes ago, we were talking about the last voting that we did in February,
Yeah.
and there was that graphic showing the Canton of Bern voting on the vehicle tax,
Mm-hmm.
and this how stark it was, how visually stark it was that you had basically the city of Bern, I think it was city of Biel and Thun, that were basically voting yes for the tax. So they were like blue, colored blue.
Yeah.
And then the rest of Canton of Bern was just a sea of red and
Yep.
shades of red for no.
Yeah.
And I asked, I showed Vincent the graphic without showing him the percentage
Mm-hmm.
of how it passed or didn't pass. But I told him it did not pass.
Yeah.
And I asked him, by what percent do you think, looking at this graphic, by what percent do you think it did not pass?
Mm-hmm.
And you had said something like 80% or so.
Yeah.
And then I showed him the percentage, and it was something like 56 to whatever, 56% said no. So even though it was a sea of
Was
red,
it? I thought it was literally like 49 and 51.
maybe it was even closer.
It was pretty much
It was
right on
crazy
down
close.
the middle, yeah.
So even though there was a sea of red, when it came down to the percentage, it was actually very closely a yes, basically.
Yeah.
And this,
if I may, that's why we from Aufrecht want the Gemeindemehr. It's like the national votes where you have the Ständemehr, also the
okay.
majority of the cantons, which also do have to agree or to disagree. We want to have the same principle applied on a cantonal level, so that not the cities where most of the people live can just overrule all the other people not living in the city. So you do have to win the communities as well, not just the vote of the people, but also the vote of the communities.
Yeah, more
That might be one
decentralization.
idea that we follow. Yes, exactly. Yeah.
I think that's a very cool idea.
Yeah, definitely.
Because it's a very popular example of the city theater in Bern. It was a cantonal vote about it. We have to get tax money to make a renovation for it, and because in Bern live more people than outside, so communities also have to pay for the theater in Bern, and they didn't want to. So that's the one idea of, if Bern wants anything, that's why we need to protect the canton Bern of the city of Bern. Well, that's my personal issue.
Someone living in the city, I might disagree with some parts, but it's okay to challenge it.
Absolutely.
Well, it goes both ways.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah. That's what we presented too, is we turned that around.
Yeah, if it had passed, and it wouldn't have taken
like
much.
with the bicycle lanes. Remember we were talking about?
Yeah, yeah.
If
which country can actually vote for or against bicycle lanes? I love this country.
Yeah. No, we were talking about if there was a vote to fund bicycle lane infrastructure in Switzerland. Obviously, the people in the city would be more in favor for that than people living out of the land. And if that had passed, then everyone living out on land, they would be like, this is completely useless to me.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree with you. But maybe this is also going to the third point that we from Aufrecht want. I think it's actually not part of the canton to establish even something like that. It's part of my community. If that might be a really good idea for as a city of Bern, but maybe for Königs or for other cities that are a little bit far away from Bern, it doesn't really there isn't really a problem of not having enough space on the streets. So I think this is also important, that what you just mentioned means that certain aspects shouldn't be even they should be discussed, but I think they are not in the reach of the canton, but should be better at the community level.
Yeah.
And
In a
that's why
bottom-up
Albrecht
system,
really
right?
wants to put down from the federal to the cantons, and even, I think, most important, several ideas from the cantons down to the communities.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, this little graphic has it's obvious why I'm showing this. This is the Stadt Bern compared to Bern Oberland. Just interesting. I thought it was interesting to see in the city of Bern. I mean, there's obviously polarity to the left. That's quite obvious. And
yes.
actually the polarity is definitely to the left, but it's also left liberal. It's sort of in that corner. Whereas the Berner Oberland does have still a bit of polarity within the left there. There's still quite a bit of polarity there, but it is much more evenly distributed than the city of Bern. And
I agree.
that was just something that struck out to me again, like we were discussing the other day. But let's jump into this more interesting observation. So I think was it you, Martin, who made that square, or who was it who made that square inside of the? I copied someone doing that. I don't know.
That was me.
That was you, Martin. Okay. So I hope you didn't trademark your copyright your idea there.
I should have.
You should have. No. I don't have here in the graphic. I don't have the labels, so I'll just go through them. The labels of which party is represented by what square. So I'll go through them quickly. The yellow one is the.
Let us make a game.
Do you guys? I was just gonna say, do you guys want to guess?
Of course.
Okay, what's the yellow?
I would say die Mitte.
Die Mitte, yeah.
Die Mitte.
With
Correct. Yeah. Okay, who's the next one? The turquoise.
It's not much, but green liberal, GLP, but not liberal enough.
EVP.
EVP.
Yes, EVP.
So many dots.
Yeah.
We have so many candidates. Wow.
That's the Evangelical People's Party.
Actually, you might need to explain it, what we're showing out to our viewers. So you're showing all the candidates of Canton of Bern who filled out a smart vote, right?
Correct.
Okay.
So each dot is representing a candidate, and the dot is positioned on this matrix, depending on the answers. So they go through a little survey, and they answer the questions in the survey, and out of that is the placement on the matrix. On this.
What are the axes again?
So to the left is the left, to the right is the right, above is liberal, and below is conservative. I can actually.
Yeah.
Ooh.
No, it's harder. You can't compare with the other ones.
EVP, easy.
Yeah, now you see.
That's easy. We can
now
see
that you see it closer, yeah.
Okay, what's the next one?
FDP.
That's one for Patrick.
That's
FDP.
FDP. Yeah.
Liberal and very diverse.
It's interesting. They also have ones that are not
French,
liberal.
they call
in there.
liberal, radical liberal. So they are radical liberal.
Some of them.
So what do you call? What are you calling diverse here? It's all up in the liberal corner. So that's not.
Let's go on with the next one to see, because diversity is always compared to something.
It's
else.
relative, right? It's relative.
The extremist party is coming.
Okay. So.
Okay. Oh, you can't even see these guys. They're just.
Yeah, it's
well,
very
I
clear.
do know.
It's very clear for me. How many
those guys there?
Yeah,
what are
that's
they?
great. If there was more than, I would say the green part.
That's the Greens, yeah.
That's the Green Party, yeah.
Very radical. If they're hanging all in the same corner, must be green.
I was honestly, when I saw this, I was honestly shocked. I thought they were sort of left-leaning, but to see so few of them in our lovely little red box, yeah, I was surprised.
You actually need to emphasize it more. The lovely red box is just the moderate, politicians, right? So it's not really left, it's not really right. So that's what the square would represent. Huh? Yeah.
Perhaps, yes.
Okay.
Okay, and then we have the other green one down there. What do you think?
SVP.
The big one.
Very clear. SVP. Look how not really dense it is, but it's quite right leaning. But
That's
be...
also what I was a bit surprised about. I every time you hear about the SVP, you hear they're far right, da 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 da.
Yeah.
And actually, when I look at this, and of course the next one, we all know what the next one is. I think
my beloved social party.
the SP. I mean,
I'm really surprised that there are actually some of those dots. I think they will not be allowed to candidate anymore.
It's funny because don't they call themselves Die Mitte?
No, that's
no,
the SP.
that's
Socialist Party and the Juso.
Wow. I really think that when you fill out the smart vote, how do you differ yourself from your next possible candidate? It's just copy and paste. Those, well,
that's what they did.
Socialists have the prettiest woman. They make the votes with that. Many years ago, I just voted.
That's not fair.
There was mostly socialists.
Yeah. Okay.
But I mean, if I was to look at this comparison, and I was to, not know which party was which, and I was just asked the question, each one of these boxes or each one of these matrices represents a political party. Can you point out, or can you sort them by which one is most extreme? I mean, there's no question that the SP and the Greens would be at the top of that list.
Absolutely. We also did a little test at our Wahlkampfstand in the city of Bern. We printed out the Greens and the Social Democratic Party and asked interested people to point out which one is which. There is no difference anymore. It's the same. It's a watermelon.
That's the thing. If you mix up together colors, with a Wasserfarbe, that green, that gives a very fascist color.
I know it. I know enough about paint to know that.
And what you see here is
and this. What party is this? The Pirate Party, no?
No, that's us.
That's
Aufrecht.
That's Aufrecht, yeah.
That's Aufrecht. That's striking, I think.
Yeah.
That looks like a good Zielschieber of a marksman. He always hits in the middle.
And you know what really cringes my mind? I'm also responsible for the social media point of view of Aufrecht Bern, and most of the comments are like, we are ultra right-wing party, and I mean,
if you're used to like the Greens and the SP, everything else looks like it's far right.
This is actually the answer that we gave them. So yes, we are right wing compared to the Greens.
Yeah.
Because everything is right from them.
But that's this thing about the so-called Overton window, right? And you can remain in the same place yourself as an individual. But if the Overton window itself shifts, then all of a sudden you're somewhere else. And you haven't really changed your views individually, but society has, politics has, the narrative has changed, and all of a sudden you're somewhere else. You're an extremist. So